name is William Helmson, and I'm covering the properties and cool facts portion of the video. Straw bales are large building materials made up of numerous types of springy tubular stalks of grasses like wheat or rice. The bales commonly come in three different sizes. Those are two-string bales measuring 14 inches tall by 18 inches wide by 36 inches long, or two-string bales measuring 16 inches tall by 18 inches wide by 45 inches long, or finally three-string bales measuring 14 to 17 inches tall by 24 inches wide by 48 inches long. The bales offer great installation ability and are surprisingly resistant to fire, vermin, and quick decay. If maintained, straw bale structures can last 100 years or even more. There are two types of construction strategies regarding the straw bales. The first is load bearing and the second is post and beam. The load bearing is what you see in the photo, and it relies on the ability to bear the weight of the above surface. In most cases, this top surface is only the roof. However, the load bearing capacity of straw bales is quite high and has carried the weight of 3 stories in the past, and is while using the load bearing or Nebraskan styled straw bale method. This means the weight supported is a few floors as well as the roof. In the post and beam method, the bales are placed in the gaps of an already framed structure. Since the frame is bearing all the weight, all the bales have to do is support themselves and resist the other stresses such as wind. In both cases, wind shear is a common factor workers need to consider. That being said, the bales are exceptionally good at resisting it already. As far as appearances go, for both methods, the finished straw bale walls are covered with cement or other weather durable materials to hide the appearance of the bales. In many cases, buildings constructed with the straw bales don't look much different than more conventionally built structures. And that leads us to our cool facts portion. And the first fact I want to talk about is the oldest building in Europe, which was built in 1921 and is what you see in this photo right here. The second is the first documented use of hay bales is constructed the first documented use of hay bales in construction was a Nebraskan schoolhouse built in 1896 or 97. Unfenced and unprotected by stucco or plaster, it was reported in 1902 to have been eaten by cows. From then on, builders began plastering their hay bale structures. I just found that kind of funny, so I wanted to share. And the final cool fact that I found was truth windows. Truth windows are often installed into the wall to expose the straw, giving buildings more character. And so they're installed into the interior of the wall, and they're not windows that go all the way through the wall. They just show the insulated hay bales in the center. And it just, like I said before, it just gives more character to the house because it's a unique part of the house that not all structures have.
Hi there, I'm Luke, and I'm going to be talking about the advantages and disadvantages to straw bale construction. As we know, straw bale construction is building structures out of straw bales, and even though it can be very cheap and easy, it is also labor intensive. I'll be using my iPad to demonstrate some of my ideas. Alright, so now we're on the iPad and we're looking at the straw bale first. We're just going to look at the straw bale itself and the pros and cons within that. So the pros are it is green. Now, not the color I'm writing in, but it is a waste product. So we're talking wheat, rice, other grains. This is the waste product from it, and farmers basically wrap it up in bundles and you get straw bales. That being said, it is 100% biodegradable. So you're not using any toxic fumes to create this, and if you put it out in nature, it's going to eventually decay on its own. It is also aesthetic, so if you want window benches, whatnot, it's thick enough to put in window benches or window sills or just benches inside your home or shelves or whatever you want. Because this straw bale is 18 to 20 inches thick. So that being said, it is also a con because it takes up a lot of room. It takes up a lot of square footage. 18 to 20 inches is pretty thick, and I'll demonstrate that right here. So this right here is a straw bale home in construction. As you can see, that is a thick straw bale right there, as opposed to that little piece of 2x4. In a traditional stick frame home, you might get like an 8-inch wall, but this is pretty thick. But that is also a pro, and one of the main pros, and that is insulation. Straw bale is very thick, and it's going to give you a lot of insulation. We're going to make this a different color. We're going to make it purple, just because make it stand out a little bit more, because that is a big thing. The R value is going to be significantly greater in this as opposed to a regular stick frame home, so you're going to get an R value between R30 and R35 at its highest potential. But a con of that is you have to do it absolutely perfect to maximize that R value, because if moisture gets in there, it is no good. You have to, so I'm drawing this out right here in blue. You have to build these walls and these outer structures watertight. If water were to get inside of this, you're gonna build things that are not very good, such as mold. You're gonna build up rot, and it's not gonna insulate your home to that maximum value of R30, R35 that we're looking for. Keeping moisture in mind, if you're living in the south or in a tropical area where there's extreme humidity, this is probably not the best idea, just because of all the moisture that's in the air.
So when we look at the advantages and disadvantages of straw bale construction, one of the main reasons why someone may want to do it is for the insulation value. But other reasons may involve the environment or cost, as we talked about before. Environmentally, you're not cutting down as many trees. So you're not making as many 2x4s or 4x4s or 6x4s as you would in a traditional stick frame building. A little side note to that is stick frame buildings can catch on fire very easily, where actually straw bale buildings are not, they don't catch on fire as easily just because the straw bales are so dense. Also, when creating straw bales, there's no pollution. So as we were talking about before, it's 100% biodegradable, it's a waste product. Whereas when you're cutting up wood for a stick frame building, you're actually using a lot of pollution from those factories or trucks or otherwise. One thing to keep in mind though, is if you want to transport straw bales from one part of town to another, if you're far away from straw bales, that may cause a lot of pollution from those trucks if you're thinking about the environment. And also that could cost a lot of money since straw bales are significantly heavy.
Alright, my name is Mason Hewitt, and I'm going to be covering straw-bale construction, materials, what it's used for, and how it works. To kick it off with materials, there are many different types of bales. These could be made with anything such as wheat, oat, barley, rye, rice, and others. And then they will be formed into a wall, then covered in earthen or a lime stucco. It's also important to note that this is a byproduct. It's the dried plant material that is left after a farmer has done harvest. The difference between hay and straw is that hay is what the farmer will harvest and actually give to his livestock or sell. Straw is, like what I said earlier, just leftover stuff. So it's very inexpensive. And yeah, hay is about twice as expensive as straw. The other materials you're going to need for this are wood framing beams and a foundation, which can be concrete or howbeit. This construction method is used for a low-cost alternative for building highly insulated walls. It also does not require a lot of technology and does not require a lot of supplies, so that's why it's so inexpensive. It was also recently revived. This was a technique that was used a lot in the 1900s, and it just recently gained traction with several states passing the straw-bale construction as a building code. And then it's used in homes, schools, churches, airplane hangars, and many, many more things. And so how it works is basically it is a skeleton framework of wood beams, which are typically the 4-inch thick beams, and it's assembled, and all of the interior will be just piled up straw bales, like we see in these two pictures here. And you can also add reinforcement to the straw bales, such as rebar or stakes that go through the bales to provide extra reinforcement. The building itself is very simple, so it doesn't need a lot of skilled labor. And the outside is covered in cement stucco, which would be this guy right here, or these. And that prevents it from the weathering outside. And the inside uses breather boards, and the insulation from the bales does the rest for them. And that is it. Thank you very much.